and welcome to a brand new video. Today we have a new mysterious case. I have wanted to film it since it came to light years ago, but I decided to wait and see what more information appeared. But I must say that when I saw it for the first time, I got the chills. As you saw by the title, we're going to talk about Bruno Borges' case, which is quite interesting and has a very particular story, so stay with me until the end. But before we start, follow me on my social media. You know I have a billion social media accounts, and the most important thing is to subscribe to this channel and activate the notification bell so you know when I upload a new video. And without anything else to say, let's begin. The mysterious case of Bruno Borges. Regarding this young man, there isn't much information, about his life, about what happened before. It is only say that he lived in Brazil and that he was a psychology student. Also that he was very nice, very studious, he had some kind of fascination for books, for information, for philosophy, among other things. And that meant he spent a lot of time in his room. He liked to be on his own and he was a kind of a shy person. But anyway, we're going straight to the facts regarding this case, because there's not much information I can give you specifically about him. Bruno's parents had gone on a trip somewhere and he had stayed only with his siblings. What happened? During that time, those days that his parents were absent, Bruno also took advantage of that and it was a little more withdrawal than usual. His siblings say that he spent all his time locked in his room. He almost never ate. He started losing a lot of weight and they found that weird. But because of his personality, they often say, it's okay. What happened? March 27, 2017 arrived. He was 24 years old when he disappears without leaving any trace in his house about where he might be. He didn't let anyone know, he didn't say anything, he just disappeared. Supposedly he was in his room when suddenly he wasn't anywhere to be found, not even on the security cameras. The creepiest thing about this curious case is that when he disappeared, the family evidently went into his room to see if he was there. But they found the most shocking thing, which was this. As you can see, this is not like a temple. It's not something for alien worshipping. Not at all. It's Bruno Borges' room, which is found like this without an explanation. He was a normal kid. He had a bed, a closet, normal walls, and it is unknown how is it that now he had a giant statue of a philosopher, a great amount of cryptic messages with symbology, a painting of him with an alien, some manuscripts on his desk, and they obviously can't understand absolutely anything about what is happening. What was found in that room specifically, you can see for yourselves thanks to the videos what's inside this room. First of all, there's a very prominently, I believe this is what most visible and what frightened me obviously the most, a giant statue of the priest, astronomer, and poet Giordano Bruno. Who was Giordano Bruno? Giordano Bruno was born in Naples, Italy in the year of 1548. He was known for being a philosopher, astronomer, mathematician, theologist, and a poet. They say that he had a great amount of cosmological theories that went beyond to the theories that Copernicus talked about. He just said that the sun wasn't the center of the universe, but that the sun was a simple star and that the universe had a great amount of species, animals, and other forms of life that we don't know. Namely, that the aliens basically exist. So clearly, he asserted something that went against all that the church said about the creation, about how we exist, and about what's around us. And these assertions and these investigations that he ended up doing were what sentenced him to the stake. This man dies in the time of the Inquisition, and he was sentenced for heresy in that time for his investigations, and for going against the church. But then his work acquired certain popularity around the 20th and the 21st centuries. So there it is, this is a statue of this man who had that way of thinking about the world, which also cost around 2,100 euros. It's made of iron, and it's standing over a very particular circle that many people had linked with the Illuminati, other aliens, among other things. On the other hand, 14 manuscripts with odd symbols are found. I mean, not like in a normal language, but just in symbols. They are marked with Roman numbers for some reason. There's a painting of Bruno with an alien just by the entrance, which is very creepy. He has white eyes, he has a cape, and the alien is resting his hand on his shoulder. The alien has eyes with some odd figures. I mean, the painting is really creepy in itself. A crazy amount of things pasted on the walls full of symbols, with numbers, with hidden messages, some words in other languages, very curious things that are everywhere. There's no bed, no clothes, not closet anymore. There's nothing, which is very odd for the parents. He did this 24 days prior to his disappearance. So here's when a great amount of theories starts to appear around what happened to Bruno, about where Bruno is and if he was abducted. I don't know, there are many things within the theories. Firstly, the theory of the abduction is entertaining, obviously. There is a great amount of text and figures, all of them related to the aliens or to things that are not from this planet. Starting with that painting that he has in his room. Many people say that because they didn't see him coming out from anywhere or anything, that he was somehow abducted by aliens and disappeared, leaving all this behind with information that maybe they wanted to know, or that he wanted to express somehow that they were going to do that to him. On the other hand, people think about the Illuminati, saying that they took him, that it's a sect, that he belonged to one, that all this information that he revealed in those texts with cryptic messages is information for them, or about them, or about the world, of what's going to happen, but I don't think this theory is actually true. And there's other people who think that the young man has a lot of imagination, that he can make many things, that he has discovered and read many things from this philosopher's text, and that he's following that path. That he simply did it with the goal of selling the 14 manuscripts that were in his room. They said his goal was to sell them and to create a viral story for people to get to know them, and for him to become rich after selling them. What happens? There was a discovery, which is that this young man, before disappearing, sometime before, had spoken to some of his cousins and some relatives, telling them about a very big project he had and asking them to invest some money on him, obviously with the promise of giving it back. That made many people think that he completely disappeared on purpose from his family and from all the people, and that he created this for everything to be more shocking. Created this room for one to see it and say, what the hell is this? And everything with the goal of eventually selling his books when he came back. Within other theories, people talk about paranormal activities. After the video was published on the internet with more details about the things in his room, the internet people evidently started to work on trying to decipher the messages from this text and the symbols. They were able to describe and discover several things. In the beginning, people found that very complicated, for those were very odd things, like in other languages or dialects, but they were able to find that there existed and that it was a code that could be cracked, and they were able to do it. Many were about a topic called theory of the knowledge absorption, or the search for the absolute truth, in which he explains many of the texts from this other philosopher as a combination of things that are thought that he believed. Despite all this, the family obviously didn't let this to just play out, but the family is starting a very big search for Bruno Borges. The Interpol was activated so they could ascertain if he had tried to flee to other country and be able to catch him. But not a trace was ever found about a single flight of him escaping through some place, absolutely anything. At the same time, the internet was trying to decipher all those messages. 4 or 5 months after Bruno Borges' disappearance, this young man reappears. It is seen through the security cameras from his home that he arrives. He rings at around 1 in the morning and nobody hears him. He stays for about an hour there, waiting, until a neighbor sees him and he can't believe it. He calls his dad and the dad comes out crying, welcomes him and hugs him. He can't believe what has happened. It has been 4 months of pain for his whole family, of many questions, of making this story viral on the internet, and now is the time for Bruno Borges' explanation about what happened and what was his real goal. It took about a week to be able to prepare to face the media and be able to talk about what had happened. And the first thing he clarified was that he hadn't done all that as a marketing strategy for the books, but that it had been a strategy to make us pay more attention to the topics he was trying to explain. What did he say? That he disappeared in his own way, namely that he escaped from his home. Later, they found out that the cameras were able to film him while he was going out. He went away to retire to some remote place. He said that it was like a jungle in the middle of nature. He went there to finish several things, to write more, and to see what happened surrounding this whole topic. And then he came back. And he came back when he felt something inside that told him that it was time to do it. He said that his main goal with this project was for people to become interested in acquire knowledge and in growing again the spirit, or like the interest in all these mysterious topics that people have forgotten, that they have taken as something light or frightening. For him, life itself is a mystery, and almost always you have to investigate these topics without letting people fool you. He explained the following: I can say that my isolation was very personal. What I can say is that I was isolated. I didn't have access to anything, for that would have defeated my purpose. I sought isolation precisely to not get caught in the collectiveness. Often, collectiveness is an obstacle to find your knowledge of yourself. He hasn't wanted to give details about his process, about what he lived, what he did, where he was exactly. Never, but he says that he planned everything beforehand, that he generated all this hype and everything to be able to let people wonder many things. He says that he doesn't blame himself or that he doesn't feel bad about the isolation he chose, but that the only thing he regrets is not letting his family know that he was leaving. Like that's something that he's never going to forgive himself for. But then, where was the goal behind this? Wasn't there a goal behind this? There's a very interesting theory that blew my mind, and I say like, whoa, it might have much to do with it. The philosopher, or well, the man that he has inside his room as a statue, is a man that's physically similar to him. I mean, it's very alike. And many people have thought that he is the reincarnation of this philosopher, and that he's trying to finish the text that he wasn't able to because he was born at the stake by the Inquisition. I don't know what you think. It may make sense, it may not make sense, but I thought that as a possible reality. Sometime after all this, he starts to explain everything that he wrote in the room and what he tried to interpret with that. Broadly, it states a theory called the cosmogonic theory. He says that he created, or well, that he kind of proposed a lot of things, comparing it with other authors. He talks about the theory in the following way. I developed a cosmogonic theory about how the universe worked through the visual experience that I was living. And that line I call the potential finitude barrier. His goal was to explain the world in a different way, to prove that we are like in a universe in which there are parallel lives, parallel realities, that there's a bigger explanation, a more reliable one, about what we believe about the outer world or the outer space. And many of those things are based on the philosopher who proposed many of those theories previously. People 100% think that this ended up being a marketing play, given that after he came back, he used the manuscripts and published them as books. The first one of them was called TAC, or Theory of Knowledge Absorption. It became one of the best sellers for his country, with around 20,000 copies sold, getting all the first places on the list of non-fiction books. And that's how he has been launching more and more and more things with the goal of, according to what people think, selling a lot of books. However, I found something very curious, and is that nowadays he's opened his room to the public. I mean, for people to see it for free. And he's also publishing the rest of his manuscripts in a completely free of charge way in his webpage. So this is very curious. Like, if he only wanted to profit, I think he would have done it in another way. Or maybe he does this now because of the backlash he's received, which is interesting. And when I found about the case, I was very afraid because by then he hadn't appeared. So I was like, oh my god, they take him. But now that I see that they didn't took him or something like that, I find it interesting. I think I do see the value of him creating some mystery around this, for he tried to further his knowledge and communicate what he thought, but I also don't think that he did things in the correct way. And in the end, there are certain things that he did that I don't agree with. But I think it's great and that he's a very clever man regarding all he did and all he generated. But very well, I'm gonna leave this case right here. I hope you like it. If so, remember to leave a like or a thumbs up. Comment what other videos you like to see, what you think about this case. If you have heard something about it before or if you knew about the ending. Follow me on all my social media. You know I have a billion social media accounts. And the most important thing is to subscribe to this channel, activate the notification bell so it lets you know when I upload a new video. And that's all. Thank you so much for watching me. Don't forget to follow your dreams and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!